Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Welcome to the Connecting with Coincidence radio show with Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, bringing together the world's synchronicity experts to help you use meaningful coincidences to develop spiritually, psychologically, and practically. For more information, put Connecting with Coincidence into your web browser to find the book, website, Psychology Today blog, YouTube channel, and Facebook page. And now, here is the host of the Connecting with Coincidence radio show, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, we are here. Welcome to the show. So glad you are with us, our loyal fans. You're here with us again, with me and my singing partner, Rob McConnell. Spread the word about the show. Word of mouth is how we grow. I'm writing a new book about coincidences, and here's something from the chapter about the future. And the question is, do you have free will? Well, that's not the right question. The right question is, what is the range of your free will? This age-old question asks for a yes or no answer. However, the question hides within itself an implied answer, either God, fate, or random chance. Whichever one you pick, you have no free will. Fate and chance are beyond individual control. Fate has predetermined your every move, and random says nothing you do is predictable. But there is a middle path. As Isaac Bashevis Singer once said, we must believe in free will. We have no choice. Yeah. And Dr. Seuss concurred. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what to do, and you know what you know, and you are the only one who will decide where to go. Our lives are governed by circumstances outside of control, yes. Genetic codes predispose us to certain diseases, and the income bracket we are born into strongly influences our future. Circumstances limit our alternatives. What is the range of my choices? As the study of coincidence tells us, you choose how to interpret them, how to use them, and that sometimes you participate in making them happen. We have some free will. And our guest today has chosen to study UFOs and owls and synchronicity. We'll get to how that happened. He's Mike McClelland, and his 2015 book, The Messengers explores this mysterious connection between owls, synchronicity, and UFO abduction. It was his first-hand experiences with these elusive events that have been made the foundation for his research. This book is also a personal memoir and a journey of self-discovery. His website, hiddenexperienceblogspot.com, explores these events and the connection to alien phenomena. Mike is also an expert in the skills of ultralight backpacking. After 25 years living in the Rockies, he now lives in the Adirondacks. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you because you have some very interesting ideas, and I love the coincidence you told me earlier when you were planning to post a personal experience as a 12-year-old boy. Why don't you tell us about that coincidence? I love that one.
Well, so to understand this story a little more fully, I was at an age where this would have been 2009, and I just started a blog. I had actually had a lot of very powerful synchronicities in my life. And I kind of created a website and a blog. It was a blog, and I just to put the synchronicities on. They're wonderful little stories, right? They're perfect for a short little essay. They got a nice punchline, so they were really tidy, and I had plenty of them. So I initially posted those, and I realized very quickly that I kind of ran out of those, and I had a set of memories and a set of experiences in my life that certainly implied or pointed to like UFO contact, I guess what you would call UFO abduction. And I was not going there. Like, I was not going to address these things. I was not going to think about these things. I did not want to think it could be possibly true. So these experiences were like, I had a missing time event in 1974, and I had 1993, I saw like literally 5 gray beings out my window walking towards my house, backlit by a bright light. So I had
did you say backed by a bright light?
Oh, so excuse me, backlit by a very bright light. Yeah.
And what is a missing time experience?
Well, this is if you study UFO contact at all, what is very commonly reported is, for instance, someone will be driving down a lonely road at night, and they'll perhaps see what they think might be a bright light or a flying saucer, or have some clue like that. And then when they arrive home, the drive is somehow they're about 2 hours late, and they can't account for that missing time.
Got it.
And perhaps under hypnosis, they might come up with a memory. Now, hypnosis is a tricky subject on its own. So, it's very often reported that people will, oftentimes kids walking home from school will have a UFO sighting, and then they will arrive late, and their parents will be very angry that they didn't come home from school right away. This is a very common story in the UFO literature, literature of the.
Okay, so back to the backlit 5 gray creatures.
Oh, so this would have been 1993. I would have been 30 years old, and I was living in upstate Maine, and I woke up. I was in the house alone in a rural part of Maine. There was a bright light shining in the window, and I sat up on my elbow and looked out the window, and the window was right next to the bed, and it seemed like there was the light was small. It should have, it seemed like the size of about a refrigerator or a washing machine. Very, very bright light off in the yard next to the driveway, and walking towards the house were 5 classic spindly aliens with the big black eyes and the bald head, and this sighting lasted all of maybe 30 seconds. And I was strangely calm. I mean, this is a pretty frightening image. I didn't have any response at all emotionally. And I heard a voice in my head. It could have been my voice, or it could have been a projected voice into my head that said, "Oh yes, they're here. Now is the time to black out and lay your head on the pillow." And that's exactly what I did. I just laid my head on the pillow and went to sleep. The next morning, I dismissed it completely as a dream. Having looked at this years later, this one event, I am very cautious to treat it as true, but I cannot dismiss it outright. So it could have been a dream. but it did not have the flavor or feel of a dream. For instance, I never dream I am in my own bedroom, right? I always dream I'm in some other realm. And if I do dream I'm in my own house or something like that, the house is a little bit distorted or something. That is not how this played out.
Well,
this
one
30-second memory.
One of my ideas, points I like to make about coincidences is row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. And what we're living in, what we call wakefulness, has many dreamlike qualities to it.
And I agree 100%. In my own research, I am, the way I frame it, I say I'm using the tools of a dream analyst.
Yes, good.
Like someone to analyze reality.
Yes. Anyway, so good. Let's go back to, okay, this was maybe a dream. Then what happened?
I got up the next morning and I never even bothered to go outside and see if there were footprints in the snow. So I just dismissed it outright as a dream. And in the intervening years, there has been enough other events in my life that imply some sort of contact experience, ongoing contact experience, which is very common. I'm not sure how I feel like I'm in the deepest waters having researched this stuff. And if your listeners are not familiar with this subject, what is commonly reported is that people will have lifelong contact events. So it's exactly the opposite of what you would expect. Like someone would have the chance of seeing a UFO. That's not how it plays out. What happens is one individual will see multiple UFOs over their lifetime, and that is very common.
I see. I have a friend who saw one, and that's not his experience. That's about the only one he had. So let's continue, because in 2009 you weren't brave enough to start writing about your UFO contacts on your blog, and then what happened?
So I had an essay all written up. I had written it up as sort of a diary entry, and it was on a document on the computer, and I even had some illustrations for it. I had an illustration of this point in the sidewalk where I was walking home from a high school football game. I would have been 12 years old. This would have been 1974, and I was on my way home, and I wanted to be at home to see a TV show called Kolchak the Night Stalker, which was a television show in the early 70s, and it was perfect for a 12-year-old boy. It had zombies and vampires and stuff, and I loved that show. So I knew I wanted to be home before 10 o'clock. So the high school is just a short walk through my neighborhood. There was no issue at all, walking to and from the high school. It was close. So on the way home, I was passing in front of a friend's house. Now, her name is Cindy, and it was in her front yard that the event happened. So I and my friend, another friend, his name was also Mike, were walking home from the high school football game. And at that point, in front of Cindy's house, there was a bright orange flash in the sky. Now, there was no flying saucer or UFO or anything. It felt like the sky lit up bright orange for 1 second, like God flipped a light switch, click, click, turned it on, turned it off. There was no sound, and it was very jarring. And we both, in the moment, my friend Mike kind of said, what just happened? Could it have been lightning, or could it have been an explosion over the horizon?
Well, what just happened is we're coming to the end of this segment, and we'll continue this the next time. We're talking with Mike Clelland, author of Messenger, and we're on the XCBN Broadcast Network.
Patty Conklin grew up in Brooktondale, New York, with a unique ability. Unlike others, she could see how the vibration of words and emotions affected the physical body. She discovered how to release stored emotion and facilitate healing. This began today's Conklin method of cellular cleansing. The private practice grew with tremendous results, as did her reputation. More and more people sought her out, bringing her into the home for healing. She soon realized she could even teach this to others, and they could shift perception and thus prevent illness from occurring. Patty Conklin quickly became a frequent keynote speaker, and she developed a curriculum for teaching the Conklin method of cellular cleansing. For more information, visit pattyconklin.com. PattiConklin, PattiConklin.com, or call 404-474-0086. That's 404-474-0086.
Mission Evolution is dedicated to the well-being of the planet and animals, as well as the evolution of humankind. One major factor threatening all three is increasing toxicity. Heavy metals and other environmental toxins are poisoning our bodies, deteriorating our brains, blocking our spiritual connection, and shortening our lives. Yet these poisons are extremely difficult to remove. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, and I recently became aware of a product created from the marriage of nature and nanotechnology called Vitality. It's formulated from zoolite, whose crystalline structure binds toxins, gently carrying them out of the body. The light is only as clear as the window through which it shines. Clear your body, shine your light into the world. Visit vitalityhappens.com for a 20% discount. Enter code PATHHOME.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Yeah, who am I? Let me see. I think I know. I'm Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. I'm the host of CC with BB. We're talking with Mike Clelland, author of The Messengers, and we just heard a story about when he was a 12-year-old walking down the street, and the sky turned orange for just a brief little period of time, and a friend of his also noticed it. And he was outside of Cindy's house when it happened. So then what happened, Mike?
So I walked home. Now, my friend Mike lived a little further into the neighborhood, a little farther away from the high school. So I walked into my house. I said goodbye to him. And my parents were angry at me. And I was like, I was a little kid. I was like, what are you angry at me for? I said I'd be home by 9:30. It's 9:30. And they pointed to the clock, and it was getting close to 11:30. I remember the 11 o'clock news was just ending. And
You missed your program.
I was so bummed out that I missed my program. So there are two things going on. I had the wrath of my parents, who were understandably upset that I was out late, and my own disappointment at missing this cool show that I loved so much. Now, the next Monday in school, I brought this up to a group of friends with Mike sitting right there, and I said, something weird happened on Friday night. And he blurted out, yeah, we saw a UFO with lights and everything. Now, I never saw a UFO, and that was my thought in the moment as a 12-year-old boy. Was like, this is how stories get blown out of proportion. Mm-hmm. And I've contacted him recently. We met up again through Facebook just within the last year, and I asked him about that night. He has no memory. The memory he does have is that he remembers that I got in trouble that night for coming home late, but he doesn't remember anything about the flash in the sky, which is not unusual given the strangeness of these events. And
I've had a couple of experiences where I distinctly remember someone saying something or doing something, and I bring it up to them, and they have no recollection of it, and it's a clear video in my head. But anyway, go ahead with this, because the coincidence from this is what we want to get to.
Good. So that was all written up as a story, and I was going to put it on my blog. And it was about, it was in the evening, and I had typed up the story, and when you put it on a blog, you have little settings, and you just cut and paste and drop it in place. And I had a picture, a satellite image of Cindy's house with an X on the sidewalk, and I I recognized I wasn't brave enough. I literally said aloud, like, I'm a coward. I'm not brave. I can't do this. My hands were above the keyboard, ready to click the little button that said post. And at that moment, I heard an audible ping, and it was my email pinging. And I just said, okay, great. I can check my email. And it was a message from Cindy saying, Cindy wants to be my friend on Facebook. I had not spoken or had any interaction with Cindy since 1974. That was 36 years earlier.
So the summary of this is you had what we'll call a UFO experience, age 12. You were trying to be able to write about it, but didn't have the courage to do it. And then Cindy, whose house it took place in front of, contacted you on Facebook. How did that coincidence happen, Mike?
Like what was going on in the grand matrix of reality?
That's the question.
Isn't that the question? So I can certainly speculate what I think might happen.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. So in an odd way, I kind of picture the world at this point like there's how to say this, like a glass table with a chessboard on top, like a really complicated, elaborate chessboard. And some force, I'm going to just call it an intelligence, is manipulating the chess pieces in our reality, setting events in place perfectly so they have the desired effect. Now, the desired effect for me was
to go ahead and do it and publish it, of course.
I said, well, this is a sign to be brave, and I did it.
You got it. The chessboard thing, the idea of a simulation is getting more and more popular. It started with the Matrix, really getting into general consciousness. So you're describing a simulation. I like Earth Coincidence Control Office, that John Lilly calls it. And what he says is that Earth Coincidence Control Office is in charge of the larger impacts of coincidences, but we have most to do with the smaller impacts, the day-to-day sort of things. So there's more and more of this coming to the fore of we're living in a simulation, and I see coincidences, not all of them, but ones like this, as clues to how that programming is going in the simulation. So let's go on with what you've learned from UFOs, because you've gotten a lot of people to send you stories, and that's what your book, The Messengers, has a lot in them. Stories that you ask us not to get too caught up in the details, but look at the general pattern of them and see what they're telling us. And what are these stories telling us, Mike, particularly with the idea that these are contacts from another dimension?
So if you really try to parse it out, there is no physical evidence that these craft are from another planet. There's certainly implications. It's certainly a logical deduction, but these events seem to play out with the logic of a leprechaun sighting in Ireland, or a Virgin Mary sighting in Spain, or a spirit animal sighting in an Indian reservation in South Dakota. Like they have a sort of dream logic connected to them. And as some researchers soon realize, what happens is you look at these events and they are playing out. If it was scientists from another planet coming here to visit us, there wouldn't be the high strangeness that is associated with these experiences. So in a way, we live in a time where leprechauns and fairies and angelic apparitions simply don't have the same meaning that they would have once in our folklore, in our mythology. So one way to frame this is that the UFO occupants and the flying saucer is simply the same core phenomena that has been following humanity all throughout human history, yet dressed up in a shiny new costume.
That's really cool.
And that avenue of thought within the UFO research community is not outrageous. People sort of adhere to that. There's what's called the ETH, the extraterrestrial hypothesis. That implies that these craft come from another planet. And when you study the actual cases, it very quickly crumbles. Like there is no way that. So here's one thing that happens, and this is this is noticed by mainstream researchers. People who have a close-up UFO sighting will often have psychic experiences. I talked to one woman who had a close-up sighting very similar to mine. It was like an orange orb. It was this bright iridescent orange color thing. It floated up to them, and she had an owl sighting just before that. We can get into that too. So she had an owl sighting that led her to take a walk. She was going to go down a path, and an owl swooped in front of her. And she said, "Ooh, I can't go down this path." It felt like I was told not to go down this path because an owl crossed the path, and she felt like it was this ominous warning not to go down the path. So instead, she climbed a hill, a nearby hilltop. This was in England, and it looked over the lovely English countryside. And the sun was setting, and a orange giant craft orb. It was not a physical object. It did not look like a metal spaceship. It was a floating orange orb that changed shape. It stretched out like a long cigar. It shrunk down to a tiny ball, and then it vanished instantly. She was very upset, and she said she went to the pub afterwards, and she said she could read the minds of everyone in the pub, and it terrified her. It was not, and that psychic experience slowly tapered over a few days. Now, that sounds crazy, but this is exactly
it's not crazy. I'm trying to imagine how it happens. Once you get into that other consciousness, which the UFOs represent, it's an expanded consciousness where the personal capacities of each of us can be expanded at least for a while. And coincidences are ways sometimes of showing us that we have psychic abilities. And this was another way to tap into that potential of this woman and having this experience. How does a UFO contact increase psychic capacities, at least temporarily?
I can only speculate, and if I was a science fiction writer, I mean, basically, she got zapped with a psychic enhancer. That's as good as I can say. Yeah.
Okay, that gets to another question. Why would the UFO want to zap her with a psychic enhancer? This is speculation. You don't know.
Oh yeah. This is her name is Maria, and she's been open about this story. And she is doing crop circle research and ancient megalithic site research all across Europe. So she's at the cutting edge of some very fringe.
So what's her name again?
Maria Wheatley.
Maria Wheatley was already on the edge. So
You're kidding.
Is that what you mean?
No, she was already. Oh, I thought like a show called The Edge.
No.
No, yes. Oh, yes. So she was on the track already. She was already.
Okay, so this was giving her an idea that she could advance in a different direction.
And she did. Yeah. She also does tarot readings and things like that. So.
Oh, was it afterwards that she did the crop circles?
I think it was at the same time. So she was already immersed in the crop circles.
That's what I'm talking about.
As was her father. She comes from a family of.
Okay,
dowsers.
we're getting to the end of this segment. And the question is going to keep coming up is why any particular person becomes a contactee for a UFO. And I'm going to leave that question for our next segment, but I think some of it is for people who are already prepared, but there's probably other reasons for it too. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence. I'm your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. We're on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. We are talking with Mike Clelland, who is the author of The Messengers.
Audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com, or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Join Patty Conklin and Healing Within Radio each week. More than entertainment, Healing Within offers educational, useful tools for everyday life. Listen for help overcoming fear, anxiety, and depression. Patty knows about eliminating cancer, MS, dementia, Parkinson's, and a host of illnesses that we face every day. Life can be good. Life is good. All you need are simple tools to start changing your life. Start right now by visiting pattyconklin.com, PATTICONKLIN. No matter where you are in the world, you can work with Patty through Skype, phone, or in person, visiting one of her retreats in Georgia. Visit pattyconklin.com today or call our offices at 404-474-0086. That's pattyconklin.com or call 404-474-0086.
Coming soon to the X Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome to CC with BB. Mike Clelland is our guest today, and we're talking about UFOs as visitors, we could say, from different dimensions. But my first question from our last segment is, Mike, is how do you think, and this is all speculation, but how do you think different people are selected? Because I have not been visited by a UFO that I can recognize, but I'm doing some other things. So why you, and why the woman you just mentioned? Why others?
Well, so I'm going to give a model that I like in a framework that fits. Things fit together very tidy if you follow this model. The people who have had these contact experiences, like when I talk to people, I have a pen and paper near my desk and I write Reiki. Just write Reiki, like Reiki therapy on the page, and I just wait for them to tell me. They'll say, "Oh, like, what do you do? What's you do in your life?" And they'll often say, it's not 100%, but it's enough that it's a very clear pattern. They'll say, "Oh, I'm a Reiki therapist. I'm a Reiki master. I teach Reiki." Or if they don't do Reiki, they do some other sort of healing work. And this is so my thoughts on this is that there is some energy, there's some intelligence outside the boundaries of our reality that's kind of, let's say, scanning the collective and seeing what we need. Now, in ancient times, or presently in all kinds of places in the country or in the planet where I don't want to use the term primitive, but non-westernized cultures, there's a shaman in every village, right? So somehow the shaman is selected. Now, this has been well documented. Joseph Campbell wrote a lot about this, that the shaman, no one chooses to be a shaman. They don't raise their hand and say, "I will be a shaman." There's events that take place within the tribe that point to the next shaman. So it's usually a boy, and the boy will often have a boy or girl, but the child will often have some sort of psychotic breakdown as a child. And that will be the clue to the elders in the tribe that this will be the next shaman. And there's an initiation rite that is somewhat brutal in some cultures, like a death and rebirth initiation, symbolically, or so. Why shamans?
I find this reminds me that when I was a first-year resident in psychiatry, I was given a psychotic diagnosis by some of my colleagues. It wasn't enough to have to be hospitalized, but I was playing with ideas that they thought were psychotics, astrology, tarot cards, and stuff like that. So I had a mild version of something like that.
And so did I. And so did I. As a young boy, I went through severe clinical depression. Yeah. So now you look at the people who are reporting these, not 100%, but enough that there's a pattern. They're not. Some of them are outright shamans. Like, they are shamans. They have followed a shamanic path. And they are now, there's also, you can take a couple steps back. Shaman has is a tough thing to give a definition to, but you can say that there are certain practices that could be shaman-like, right? So Reiki therapy, helping someone using hands-on healing, people with clairvoyant powers giving readings, tarot readers. One fellow is a nurse in a hospital, and then I have to say, yes, he's working in the healing arts. So I would cautiously speculate that there is a force in place that recognizes that we need a different modality of healing in our culture. Yes, it's wonderful if you break your leg, you want to go to the hospital. But if you're having a crisis of spirit, you need more tools than what our present society can maybe offer. So it feels like there's this force planting the seeds to create shamans. And I have talked, there's many people who have gone down this avenue too. This is not an original idea on my own. That and that the UFO contact experience is a symbolic event that mirrors the shamanic initiation that would have taken place in a primitive village. We no longer live in a primitive village. We don't have the elders that can indoctrinate the next shaman. We have a highly symbolic event, the UFO contact experience, that is in essence doing the same thing. Traumatizing, I would actually say traumatizing the individual to change and basically die and be reborn.
It seems like this trauma business is important for transformation. You got to go through some problems, difficulties to be able to expand. I wish it wasn't that way, but even the old Greeks, Aeschylus, for example, said it was learning through suffering. Wisdom comes through pain, and it seems to be part of the human condition. You go through it, and something comes out the other end, and your mind is expanded. So I think that's a really nice hypothesis that you've got there. Why don't you tell us something more about you with owls and synchronicity and UFOs?
So I had an experience in 2006 where I saw a lot of owls camping. I went out for 2 different nights in 1 week with the same young woman, and we saw 3 owls. The 3 owls appeared, I'm going to say magically, I'm just going to use that term, appeared magically, and hung out with us at sunset. To have it happen once was pretty cool. To have it happen twice within 4 days kind of was challenging. Now, I will say, which I did not say then, I'm saying it now since I've written the book and everything, when I saw those owls, there was a voice in my head that said, this has something to do with UFOs, right? So we're camping. It's a pretty spot in the mountains and out in Wyoming, Grand Teton National Park, and owls were like landing at our feet and staring up at us. And I'm going to say it, a message. That's the term. That's the title of the book, The Messengers. I had a message from an owl in my head that said, this has something to do with the UFOs.
And I had a guy on the show who had dragonflies doing something like what you're talking about. What the owls did.
Yeah. Oh, hummingbirds, crows, eagles. Yeah. This is totem animals, spirit animals in other cultures. Now, so what that forced me to do, that was part of the reason I started the blog, was those owl events. That was one of the first stories I told, this camping story, which is a little more elaborate than I sort of. So what happened? So I started seeing owls. So what it did, I saw owls. It made me look into my own UFO experiences. And that's part of the reason I was writing them up and eventually putting them on the blog. And what it did, it unleashed a flood of synchronistic events with owls. Sometimes not real owls. Sometimes they were, owl lunchboxes or owl T-shirts or something like that would show up at a prescient moment when talking about owls. Now, I feel like I went a little bit insane between about 2006 and 2011, and because I got so obsessed. So I was asking people with UFO contact experiences, have you ever had any odd experiences with owls? And it wasn't 100%, but it was enough that there was a very clear pattern, and people started sharing the strangest stories. This is common. Fellow camping at night, he's with his buddy, they've got a campfire going, they're in the desert, they look up at a tall cactus looming above their campsite, and there's an owl sitting on top of this cactus, and it scares them. They're both the owls have an ominous vibe. The owl flies off, and seconds later, a triangle craft zips slowly above their campsite and hugs the terrain in this very unusual way. I sat with this fellow. He struggled to try to describe the strangeness of the movements of this craft. On the simplest level, that's the kind of story I'm getting over and over again. At a deeper level, oftentimes these owl sightings are connected with psychic events or what feels like telepathy, and I would say that the owl is a totem animal that implies a challenge. There's many ways to look at it, and there's lots of literature. If you boil it all down, the owl presents the observer, if it's seen in highly charged, like in the context of a UFO, highly charged human event like that, it implies a challenge to the observer. And I have many stories that don't have to do with anything to do with UFOs, but the 5 things that show up in my research have been obviously UFOs and owls, meditation. People meditate and open their eyes and see owls. I've got a lot of stories of that. Death, owls and death. Owls are symbolic of death in many cultures. So oftentimes people will see an owl after a loved one passes. I have a lot of powerful stories about that. And it's a very reassuring thing. The owl will alleviate grieving in many cases. The owls in shamanic initiation, which we talked about a little bit, people going through a shamanic initiation will see owls, and then psychedelic trips, mostly mushrooms. I haven't heard too many connected to something like a powerful drug like DMT or ayahuasca, but I have certainly heard a lot of stories of owls and mushrooms, people taking mushrooms in a ceremonial setting and having owl experiences.
We're coming to the end of this segment, Mike. It's so curious to me that you, Mike Clelland, are attracting all these owl stories, because I've had plenty of people telling me stories on this show of connections with octopus. I told you about the dragonflies. I've had a couple with just houseflies. And I've had connection with trees, and some other people have connection with trees, certain trees and certain plants. You are, from my experience, inundated with owls. And in the next segment, I'm going to ask what it is about you that makes the owl so prevalent. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence. We are talking with Mike Clelland, author of The Messengers.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by L.A. Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Memorable dynamic presentations are a not-so-secret weapon in the business world. Do you have a powerful message that must be shared, but you haven't found a way to deliver that message? Do you want to be known as a top public speaker who gets amazing results? Are you ready to create and deliver your powerful message? Thomas Hides can help you create and deliver your speech to get the results you desire. Visit iconquality.com.
Did you expect your business to flourish, but instead it plateaued or didn't get off the ground yet? Would you like to achieve massive goals and discover new sources of income within your business? When you're ready to experience that type of success with fast results, Cindy Hendricks is the business coach for you. Her work with entrepreneurs and business owners has been life-changing. To get you and your business where you want to be, go to imaginemoresuccess.com.
Has the fear of public speaking stalled your business or personal life? What would you give to develop and maintain supreme confidence? Have an invaluable private program to always perform at your best. Imagine how you would feel. You can have all that and so much more today with Thomas Hides' life-changing course called Number One Fear Unleashed. Visit numberonefear.com and be liberated from your fear of public speaking.
Welcome back to CC with BB, our fourth segment. We are dealing with UFOs, talking about owls, and we're talking with Mike Clelland. And my question from Mike is this kind of vortex that your mind seems to be, a vortex magnet for owls and UFOs. How come it's you? What's with you and the owls and the UFOs?
Isn't that the question? Yes, isn't that the question? So I have struggled with this, and I have, so if I've written 3 books, right? So, and all of them have to do with my own experiences, owls and UFOs. There's a lot of other stories in those books too, like other people's experiences. But if you stack those 3 books on top of each other, it's about 1,000 pages. It's 1,007 pages of owls and UFOs. So, like, I am still absolutely stumped. Why me? Now, so if the owl is symbolic of something,
or let's leave the question as you don't know. It's just the way it is, and probably the reason for it is just what we're doing. Is that you are the representative of a particular connection. That is between owls and UFOs. So you are representing to anybody who will listen and who will read that connection. And you can tell us about owls, but I would like you to include synchronicity in this, what you're telling me about, because you have a triad of synchronicity, owls, and UFOs.
I am at the point now where I see those essentially as all the same thing. Owls, synchronicities, and UFOs. Like, I treat them, I weight them the same. So if someone tells me a powerful UFO story, that's a transformational experience for the person. If someone tells me a powerful synchronicity, that's a transformation for the person. Here, I'll share. This has nothing to do with UFOs, but has everything to do with the research I'm doing. This is one that I can tell pretty quick. Some of the stories are so long, and it's like trying to describe a fable or a dream. But there was a young woman. She was a teenager.
Let me interrupt just for a minute. I have some suggestions about how to tell synchronicity stories, because people add a lot more detail than is necessary because they enjoy the detail, because it reminds them of the experience. But for the listener, it's important to pare away some of those details and just get to the essence. So please tell us this one that you can tell us in a short period of time.
And that was, to put it in a book, I had to tear away a lot, and it broke my heart to tear away so much of some of these powerful stories. Woman, she was depressed. She was a teenager. She contacted me at a very important point in my life as my mother was dying, and she was now a happy grandmother. But she told a story of being suicidal as a teenager, and she was driving to a spot in the woods to kill herself. She had a hose in the car to take from the tailpipe into the car and a pillow so she could lay down in the back seat and die. And so she was pulling into the spot. She had the spot chosen. So in order to pull into this turnoff in the woods on this road, she had to slow down. At the point she was slowing down, an owl flew up to the windshield, flapped its wings a few times, stared her in the eye, and she made eye contact with this owl. She started crying. She took it as a sign. She turned around and came home. So there's a story where the owl saved her life.
And I've got a story in my book connecting with the coincidence of a guy, a teenager, riding out into the woods. Nobody had been there before. A woman, teenage girl rather, riding out into the woods doing the same thing. She was going to kill herself, had her father's gun. And rather than an owl showing up, her brother showed up. He'd never been there before. He didn't know how he got there or why he went there, but he just felt he had to get there. So there's that parallel in those two stories. The owl saves her life. What are your owls and UFOs and synchronicities telling you about what to do about the state of this planet, where we human beings, sapiens, are parasites consuming our host, the Earth?
Well, there's very little the owls are actually telling. I think there's personally, people have had a lot of experiences. One more very quick story. A guy meditates. He likes to meditate outside. And before meditating, he was very passionate. He sort of spoke to the heavens and said, I want to work for the upliftment of humanity. Mm-hmm. Of mankind. And he said it out loud. He sat down in an open field to meditate, and when he opened his eyes, there was an owl staring at him across the field. So, yes, so the simplest definition of what an owl is here to do is an alarm clock. It is here to wake us up, and to wake us up that there is a deeper reality that we can access and we can tap into. A spiritual reality, a deeper reality, and that is certainly what I'm finding. So I don't have any suggestions on how to help save the Earth. That's a very individual process each person comes at. But I will tell you, the people who have I would say that the Earth could use more shamans. Here, I'll put it that way. So that let's say the Earth is being seeded with alternative methods of healing, and people who can guide other people through these other realms. And perhaps that's what I'm doing with these books that focus so much on this alternate reality, this other reality, this hidden reality that is just beyond us, but that is influencing us at the same time.
I take away from that, tap into a different reality. And the question is how tapping into that individual, that different reality that the owls are pointing to can help with what we're doing to the planet. And we don't have an answer to that. I don't expect to have an answer to it, but right now, but we've got to find one.
I agree. And I think it's going to be a million individual upliftments for humanity. Just as that said, how do you uplift humanity? Anyone can do it in 1,000 different, a million different ways. And so those are perhaps the seeds that are being sowed by this mythic force. And that's the story of the flying saucers. I mean, the space occupants, if that's what you take them as, say straight up, like, don't be messing with nuclear bombs. You need to correct your nature is in crisis. Here's what they say. It's boiled down. They say your technology has advanced farther than your spirituality. So your spirituality has to catch up. That's a very clear message from thousands of UFO contact reports stated that clearly.
That's very clear. I had somebody on the program had a horse telepathing to her saying the Earth has had enough, you don't have much time here, which is more of a doomsday thing. What you're talking about is stuff like ideas that your technology is advanced further than your spirituality is a better message. It suggests potential ways to think about changing.
And the message comes in many different forms. So that this talking horse, the telepathic horse, it's a threatening doomsday message. So what's very common is people arrive on board a flying saucer, if this is what's actually happening. They sit in front of like a 3-dimensional view screen, and they are shown the Earth basically crumbling, nuclear war, nuclear winter, nature collapsing, and sometimes even the Earth itself cracking like an egg. And this is absolutely common within these reports.
What I'm looking for now, since I think there's a growing awareness of the Earth cracking like an egg possibility, is what do we all do about it? So when you say spirituality, we only have 2 minutes left. What do you mean by getting more spiritual, becoming more spiritual?
Well, I'm certainly a much more spiritual person than I was when I looked into this initially. Like, I was a different person back in 2006 before I saw those owls. I've since changed. That change was traumatic. I guess just have an awareness. I presently have an awareness that there's something more. So, someone asked me, like, how have I changed? What's different about myself since all these experiences? And what I can say is, I feel I now live in a magical universe. I see it as a magical universe. My junior high school science teacher, my parents did not prepare me for anything mystical, but that's what I'm experiencing, these mystical events.
Could you be more specific?
I wish I had...
Be more specific, because that's still pretty general.
Here, I wish I could come up with a good
it's
quick
fair.
story to tell.
We only have about a minute left, but becoming more spiritual is no longer a good answer. Talking about saying more mystical is no longer a good answer. We have to be more explicit to those who have not gotten to this place about helping more people get to a place that I believe you are reaching and continue to go through. Those of us who are seeing the magicality around have to be able to describe it and provide ways in which people can experience it. And my way is to help people become more aware of coincidences, which are links to something beyond us. But what's that beyond? You have a hint about it, Mike, and it's very important what you're doing. And now it's time for all of us to say, well, what is it that we're trying to be able to help other people do so the earth doesn't crack like an egg?
I have been spending full time. My life is flipped over. I write, I collect owl stories that people have had. I publish them, I archive them. I try to make sense of the message within these owl stories. And I am putting it out there, and people are responding. My email inbox
I'm sorry, we've come to the end of this segment. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. Keep it up. When you can come up with the message I can understand, I want to see it. We've been talking with Mike Clelland, author of The Messengers. He's got a great message for all of us. This is the XEBN Broadcast Network.